Hello, everybody. Gosh, that started really quickly today. Sometimes it takes forever, and then sometimes it just starts immediately like that as soon as you press the button. But there we go. Welcome to another My Music. In a minute, I'm going to be speaking to the Masters of Dana of Masters, Dana Masters, all the way from where are you coming from?
Originally South Carolina, and then lots of other places. But right now I'm in Northern Ireland.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. This is wow. If I get swimming now, I'll be able to come and have tea.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very shortly. We'll be speaking to Dana in a minute after this. Okay, just hold on because it is coming.
Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me today. Before we get started, just a quick little thank you to a previous guest from last week, Helen Moore, who sent me this today, her CD, and she sent me a lovely little thank you note as well. That's so
Aw.
sweet. Thank you so much, Helen. Thank you for doing that. It's very
I feel
kind.
like that was a bit of a low-key way of telling me that you expect me definitely to be sending you thank you notes and gifts.
Absolutely, yeah. Coffee vouchers, all sorts. No,
Mhm.
not at
Big
all. No,
bouquet
not.
of flowers.
Yeah, flowers. You can send me flowers. Right. I can buy myself flowers.
Oh yeah, okay.
Right.
I was actually waiting for that.
Do you know what? I could write a song about that, but someone else might beat me to it. There you go. So you're at the moment, so you're in Ireland.
I am. That's where I've lived for the last 15 years.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you find it over there? That explains why, as well, for the album, the new album coming out. That explains why you're playing 2 shows in Ireland.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I love it here. It's home now. It really is. And my husband is from here. So we've been here for quite a while, and it's won my heart. It's a wonderful place.
Yeah. Did you
Mhm.
see the film P.S. I Love You with the
Oh
Irishman?
my God. I think I
Did
saw that.
you see that? Was that before you got married or after you got married or about the
It,
same time?
it was pretty early on, and I can't remember what year it was. And I do remember watching it vaguely, but I
And
mean,
thinking this is going to happen to me.
it already had happened to me. I was like, this is my life.
Yeah, yeah. You were like, wow, they stole this from me.
I know. I'm still trying to get, royalties and rights from that movie, actually.
Yeah. Except your
Mhm.
husband's very much alive, which is good.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Details.
a minor detail, but other than that. Oh, which is your favorite part of Ireland? Got to ask you.
Oh, that's a really good question. We would spend a lot of time in Donegal in this little cottage on the coast that has no electricity,
Love that.
no sort of running water in the way that we would see running water. So it's only heated by the massive fire in the main space. And so there's no Wi-Fi, there's no anything. And it is heaven. After you get over the shock, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Because it is a
it,
shock. It is a shock.
it is a shock. It is a shock. And I'm not that person. I'm a townie. I grew up in the suburbs, so I definitely had to be coaxed into this. But once I did it, I loved it. There's nothing like the wilds of Ireland. I'm not saying it's the most beautiful place in the world, but it is one of those places that you have to come and experience it to get it. Scotland's the same way, but they're not the same. The Scottish wilds are very different from the Irish wilds, and it's wonderful.
Yeah. Are you quite a
Mhm.
spiritual person?
I am deeply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is part of the draw of Ireland that kind of connection to the kind of spiritual side of yourself?
Yeah, I don't know if that was the draw. The draw was that I fell in love with an Irishman, but I do think there's a part of me that feels very at home here because people on this island are very spiritually open. Like they acknowledge the mystery that you can't know everything, and there are things that are happening that are beyond us and bigger than us, and they don't always feel the need to define it, but they're
Have an
open to
answer
it.
to that.
I
Yeah.
find that very beautiful. I really do. There's something so humble about that, actually.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that, if you don't mind us talking about that bit for a moment, but it's interesting you say that, you really enjoy that experience of putting everything down, the this and
Yeah.
all of this stuff, the social
Yeah.
media and everything else. It's that's hard, right? These days. That really
Yeah.
is hard because, we all believe that we're missing out if we're not
Yeah.
connected. We all believe
Absolutely.
we're missing out. But what
Absolutely.
what do you feel that gives you? Do you need that in order to write music? Do you kind of lust, if you like, for silence in order to
Yeah.
make something?
I think I do. I think I do, but like everybody else, I get swept up in the constant connection. And I think you feel this pressure to stay constantly connected because everybody else is constantly connected. I think that's why the lockdowns were so profound for a lot of people, particularly for musicians. Because sometimes we keep working without breaks. We keep touring without breaks because we think if I don't do it, somebody else will, and then they'll stop calling if I start saying no. But then nobody could do anything, and we were so
Yeah.
delighted to be able to stop for a minute and be inspired and go for walks and have long coffees and read a book. I think people assume that's what musicians are doing constantly. That's what we should be doing constantly. But the reality is, I was just telling my husband the other day, I said, I have a degree in music and went to university and studied music. I said, if I could go back and tell myself to do something different, I would say minor in music and major in business and marketing, because that's what I spend the majority of my time doing, like a lot of other people. It's all on the computer, it's all on the phone, it's all on social media, it's all on this. And I'm not complaining, but I think it does trick us into thinking that we can't disconnect or something significant is going to happen when we're not there. Do you know what I mean?
Now, listening to your music, which is fabulous, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
You obviously span the sort of the pop sensibility, but you've got your jazz roots and everything in there.
Yeah.
You must have I think you've got a good black book of contacts and cool contacts as well. Who's the most important person? Well, not the most important. Who's the best person in your contact book? Who have you met over the years that's been perhaps the most useful person to know on the journey?
Oh, useful. That's such an interesting way to put it. Do you know what's really funny is I do have contacts of people who people would know their names. They know them. Sometimes those aren't the most useful people. Yourself,
No.
like sometimes the most useful people in the music industry, no one, the public don't know who they are. And it is very interesting, that question. I think I've had very influential people encourage me and say, keep going, and you've got what it takes, or challenge me. But as far as the youthful people, they're not who you think, which is, I learned very early on when I was young, like, treat people with respect and treat people good, like, no matter who it is, because you really never know who the most useful person is. It genuinely could be the roadie who happens to know somebody who likes your music and passes it on to them.
Yeah,
and yeah, it's such a crazy, it is such a crazy idea of this.
Well, that's why I asked useful rather than famous, because
yeah,
right,
I know what
it
you
does.
mean. Yeah. One of the most useful people in my life actually is not a musician. He's just a guy who, like, he gets kind of obsessive about music that he loves. And he
Love that.
actually knows a lot of famous people. So he's always peddling you to people. And honestly, I have sometimes like, another person would read it as a little bit stalkerish, but he's really amazing person. But it's those types of people that have taught me throughout my career to be less concerned about who's going to help me, and just work, put out music, be really kind to people, care more about the listeners than the people in the industry. Don't care about people in the industry, but you just never know. You can't, if you play the game of who do I think is going to help me, you'll drive yourself insane and you'll be sorely disappointed all the time.
Are you constantly surprised about with music? Are you constantly surprised about what you don't know?
Not surprised. I know I don't know. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I think it's that thing of, whenever you study something, you realize, and you learn. The more you learn, the more you
The less
know.
you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I constantly feel like a kid at work.
Cool.
But that's what's amazing about music is you never get to know it fully, and you never get to know an audience fully. You can't take for granted an audience or a person who's listening, anything. And I'm kept on my toes. I'm always learning. I'm always discovering,
As a vocalist, I know a little bit about that because, I tried for many years. How long did it take you to find your voice?
Jeez. Well, I think first of all, when you study music, well, I'll back up before then. I grew up in South Carolina, and R&B was the pop music of my culture. That was, what I listened to. And we were always trying to sound like those voices.
Who were you trying to sound like? Who?
SWV, Sisters with Voices, In Vogue. Yeah. Who else was I trying to sound like? Yeah, basic girl groups, really. Even the boys,
TLC.
I was obsessed with Boys to Men. TLC, yeah. I wasn't trying to sound like them vocally, but I did love it. And when you said, like, a deep connection to pop music, but Black pop music, you know what I mean? I grew up with really strong hooks, and that was the way music was made. It's kind of like the legacy. Mary a little bit. I wasn't really into, like, gospel music. No. It was all around me, but that wasn't my thing. I definitely fell in love with R&B. So you're trying to sound like them, but I was never like them. I did not have a monster voice. I didn't have all these chops. I couldn't, the vocal agility. I was never that. I was like in the choir. I was never the choir soloist, in those contexts. Then when I went to school, it was amazing because I had to study classical singing. And that was the first time. I'd never formally studied music. That was really hard. I got in on a scholarship based solely on the fact that I could sing. I auditioned for this thing and they said, listen, we'll let you in. We're going to give you a scholarship. But if you fail theory and all those other things, you're out. Like after we'll give you a year probation.
That's harsh,
basically.
right?
It was really harsh because I was in classes with people who had been reading music since they were 3 and 4.
Oh.
And it was so wonderfully challenging. And I studied classical music, which was amazing for my vocal technique. But again, I'm trying to sound like someone else. So it actually took me quite a long time to find my own voice because I was constantly sort of filling in these other spaces. But once I left university, it took me a while to get over this thing that the vocal had to be perfect, you know, and clean and tidy. And now I am realizing actually some of my favorite singers, their vocals are really messy and sort of dirty and nothing like what my voice teacher in school would have passed or anything, you know? So I think, long story short, I think I'm still learning actually. Do you know what I mean? I think I'm still very much learning to let go of perfection and choose instead real performance of a song.
Yeah.
You know?
So with that question goes, which of your songs do you feel that you sing best?
Wow. There's a song on the new album called Need You. And it is probably the truest song I've ever written. I always write, to be honest. I'm never, putting on or anything. But somehow that song just sort of fell out of me, and it is the truest song I've ever written. So when I sing it, it's the most honest vocal ever that I do, particularly live. I struggle. This album was such an incredible learning experience because I struggle in a studio because I'm like, what's my motivation here? There's no people.
It's very dry in the studio, isn't it?
It can be. Now, the studio I record in is wonderful. It's my favorite one. It feels like home. It's cozy. It's dim lit. There's sofas everywhere. There's old carpets and it's great. It's beautiful. But for me, I actually have to put myself in an audience to be able to do it. But we just had the first album launch in Belfast there on Saturday. And I have to say, it's probably the song I enjoyed performing the most just because it's so raw for me. And that means it's the most honest vocal. And this sounds horrible for me to say. I feel like, can I say this? I enjoy listening to myself sing that song live.
That's not.
I feel like I'm going to be judged.
That's not a problem at all. That's not a problem at all, is it? Yeah. So that for you, that goes beyond, for that song, goes beyond just inhabiting the song. That actually feels like almost, you said it yourself earlier, like coming home.
Absolutely.
In a song. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a lovely thing to have achieved.
Yes. Yeah. I do think this group of songs on this album is the first time that I've written. I have 2 other EPs, and I don't want to disparage those recordings because those were a snapshot in a moment in time. But I think just like a lot of musicians, when you have no money, you do something so quickly. And the reality is, I look back on that and I go, those definitely could have cooked a bit longer. There was more there. And this is the first time that I've put together a body of work. I'm extremely proud of it. I really am. And for the first time, I feel like, when I die, if someone was like, oh, Dana Masters, what was she like musically? And someone shows them that album, I would be delighted. I'm like, yes, that's who I am right now musically. And I love that,
But you know what, Dana? The great thing about that is that every musician is actually a hidden air fryer.
Okay,
And, and by that I mean that anything you produce in the past, which may be rushed at the time, or you may feel like
Yeah.
didn't quite hit the mark, or whatever, you have the ability to take it, put it back in the air fryer,
Yeah.
crisp up the edges,
Yeah.
and at some point put it back out there in a completely different form.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of music as well, though, you know.
It is. It's the beauty of being a creative. Like there are very few rules, really. I think for me, the one rule is to not write with people's what am I trying to say? Oh, you not to not write with people in mind, but don't write with their approval in mind. Do you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
So
Don't look at it as a marketing
Mm-hmm.
exercise. No, don't think there's a set of people over there. I want that.
Yes.
I want those set of people to like what I'm doing here. So what do they want?
Absolutely. And you have to, it's so funny when you talk about like when you're writing, not writing with people in mind, because the reality is it's a really dangerous thing as a creative of any type of thing to decide who you want to like your work. That's not up to you. And it shouldn't be something that you preoccupy yourself with. You know, I've been so shocked at some of the people that have liked my stuff, and I've been shocked at some of the people who just didn't like it. You know?
Actually, do you know what? That's a really interesting point, though, isn't it? Because we all, and we shouldn't do it. Folks, don't do it. We all make assumptions about people, right? We all do, and it's actually one of the bad things that we all do as human beings, is that we assume that other people understand what's going on in our head. They see the world in the same way that we do, or they understand the narratives that we understand, and therefore we start making assumptions about people. We make assumptions about the way that they take the information or the stuff that we create, and the way that they see it, the way that they hear it, the way that they look at it. We don't know that, you know, that those are all assumptions. You might see somebody walking down the road wearing leather jacket, Mohican, ear, you know, everything pierced, tattoos to the hilt, quite punky, emo, gothy, whatever. They may love you. They may be your biggest fan.
Yeah.
And you might look at them and go, they won't like my music.
Yeah.
You don't know. They may love your music. You just don't know. That's
You
that's
just really don't know.
that's the beautiful thing about it.
Beautiful thing
Actually,
about it. And you don't have to preoccupy yourself. The moment you stop limiting your music in that way, or any art in that way, I think for me at least, I found a new freedom in creating. And also, I think for me, it's important to remember that the people that liked your last body of work might not like the next one, and that's okay. And as musicians, I think it's up to us to give ourselves the permission to evolve, which sometimes means saying goodbye to a certain audience and hello to a new one, and that's all okay.
But I'm gonna hold you on something here, though.
Okay.
Do you know what? There's the difference, though, between customers of your music and fans.
That is true.
Right?
Yeah.
And a very wise man once said that actually what you need are fans, not customers.
Yeah.
Right? Because ultimately, if you have fans get the journey.
Yeah.
Right? People that really get, you know, they buy into you, Donna, as a person, which is why the story, they buy into where you're coming from, what you're trying to do. They believe in your, if you like, your massive transformational purpose in the world, what it is that you're trying to say, etc., fans will forgive you everything, and actually they will give you feedback. They will allow you to evolve as well, and they will stay with you for the journey.
Yeah.
Customers
Yeah.
are people that will go, oh yeah, I liked her last month, don't like her anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
But so much
Because
of
they,
our energy we spend on customers. We do. I mean, like, I think as creatives, it's so easy to get hung up on customers, you know, instead of just letting them be what they are. They're sort of transient, you know,
in 1
buyers
minute, out the next.
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's some people, I'm not a fan of every album. I'm not a fan of the musician of every album that I own. You know, I just maybe liked that album, and that's okay. And then there's other musicians who I'm here for the long haul. Like I just like, I
Yeah.
love who they are, you know?
And with those people as well, you put a little bit more effort in as a listener, because you're trying to work out, then you're going on the journey with them. You're trying to work out
Absolutely.
where are they going with this? What is it that I'm now needing to learn from
Yeah.
this? And I
Yes.
love that.
I love that
Yeah.
too. I've had that experience with, maybe this is cheesy, I don't know, but since I was very little, I've always loved Harry Connick Jr. I don't know
That's not
why.
cheesy.
It's there's something about what he does that just, for me, is very joy filled and very good, like quality, but joy filled and wonderful. And I think over lockdown, he came out with an album that he did like every part of it himself. That was just, you know, nobody could come to the studio or anything. And I remember listening to it. In my first listen, I was like, huh, this isn't what I'm used to. But without even having to think about it, because I am such a fan of his, that because I feel loyal to him as a creative, because of all the joy that he's given me in my life through his music, that I didn't even think about it. It was no question. I was going to listen, and I was going to listen again, and I was going to listen again. And what was really interesting is about a month later, I really started to enjoy it, because I was listening kind of to, what were you doing? What were you experiencing? And I love to be able to listen to a body of work where he was like, I was experimenting. I was by myself and I wanted to try something new. And like, yeah. And all of a sudden I'm liking it. Do you know what I mean? So you're so right. You're so right. There are fans and there are customers. And I think for me, because I'm very empathetic, so I'm very affected by what you think, I have to sometimes turn that part of my brain off so that I can do my best for you. You know?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Who are you listening to of now?
At the moment?
Yeah.
Now, when you say of now, are you saying like musicians who have come to light?
Yeah,
now?
I'm going to say, like, of your peers, kind of, who are you listening to?
Oh, that's a really, really good question. My brain is a very chaotic place. And so that list is very short, but not because I'm hard to please or anything. I just find sometimes that when I'm listening to music, I go into work mode. There's very few things that I can listen to that actually turn that part of my brain off. If that makes sense.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
I listen to a lot of stuff that I grew up on, and I listen to people who are doing that kind of stuff. So there's an artist who's become a good friend of mine named Mika Miller, who I've really enjoyed listening to her expression of soul music.
Mhm.
And I love that. I love when people take Black music or music of Black origin and sort of interpret and do their own thing. I love that. I feel like it's so honoring to the people who made that music. Who else am I listening to? I actually do listen to a lot of soul music and R&B. Leon Bridges is a voice and a writer. I enjoy, I enjoy his lyric writing a lot. I like clever lyrics, but not ones you have to think too hard about. Like I do like them to sort of deliver the message easy to people. You know what I mean?
But not
Who
that
else?
like you've swallowed a dictionary sort of thing.
Yes, yes. I want
Mm.
it to. I want it to be of substance, but I think there's a really fine line between being clever and making someone have to go back to school. I feel like they had a school day to, to enjoy what you're doing, you know?
Yeah. Making someone
Uh,
feel thick, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know. Yes. Yeah. I'm like, am I the only one not getting this? That's great. Um, there's a guy, Sasha, is that the way you pronounce his name? Beautiful vocalist. That I enjoy listening to, just him vocally. It's very challenging. I really love that. And this one of the things that I sort of love about jazz music. I would never say I am a jazz vocalist, okay? But it's the common denominator, I think, when I think about all the sounds that I make naturally. Like I could never just be a soul artist. I could never just be an R&B artist. It's just too much. So it's like the common thread between all of the different genres that I was taught to love, that I was brought up on. And also Black music isn't delineated easily. We don't delineate like that. And so it's a lot harder to sort of genre somebody. But one of the things I love about vocals rooted in the jazz sort of way is that I grew up with a lot of belters, and I felt like I could never do that. And then when I tried it and when I did do it, I was like, oh, it just felt so not me. And when I first started listening, when I was younger, a lot younger, to jazz vocals, it was like a breath of fresh air, this gentle singing, like the awe-inspiring moments weren't in the loudness of the vocal. They're in the technicality and the control and the intentionality and the ability to move with the music in surprising ways that weren't planned. It was enjoying one's own vocal timbre. And you listen to these vocalists and it felt like they were exploring their own vocal live, you know, just to see what it could do and to stretch it and to. So I think for me, I that's what I love when I listen to music. I love Stacey Kent for that. And I will never be a Stacey Kent singer. God knows I have prayed for such a angelic, soft, gentle voice like that my whole life. My God, when I listen to her, I'm just like, this is otherworldly to me, and I love it.
You know what? We get given the gift we're given,
That's right.
and we create around that gift.
Absolutely.
Donna, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you.
I hope people now go and check out your music and want to know more, because that's what we do here. We build the anticipation,
Yeah.
like a gentle crescendo,
Yeah.
just slowly building until we get to the right point. I think
Love
what you were talking about just then as well, which is something that's really permeates through kind of the best moments of jazz and soul and etc., is space.
Yeah.
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 And as a great musician once said to me, it's music is all about the space. It's not what
Yeah.
you put in the space, it's what you leave out. That's the bit
Yeah.
that's the clever bit.
Absolutely.
So there you go, folks. You can find all of the spaces on Dana's new album. If you can add them up, give us the exact timing for those spaces, then you'll win a prize. I can't say what the prize is.
Get a free vinyl from Dana.
Yeah, if you can do that.
Yeah.
There we are. It has been an absolute pleasure, folks. The album, just drop the name of the album and tell us when it's available and how to get hold of it, and then we shall
So the
see
new
flocks
album,
of people happening.
yes, the new album is called Real Good Mood. It is available now on all streaming platforms. Just came out this past Friday. And it is also available on CD and vinyl. And watch this space because those go on sale next week.
Woo! So if you're feeling in a real good mood, you need to get on down to your website. Is that the best place to buy it from? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no. Watch my Instagram, and when it goes on sale, you'll get it from my website. But follow me on Instagram or Facebook.
Check out Dana's Instagram. Watch for the link tree to change to this is how you get it. And when it happens, right, you can get in there and order it. Fill your boots, right?
Absolutely.
Buy someone 5 copies for Christmas. Yeah. Or give it to 5 different people, because otherwise that's just a bit silly.
No, don't buy one person 5 copies. That would be a bit of an overkill.
Find 5 people in your family or in your group of friends and buy each of them a copy. That would be fantastic. And we'll see you then, Dana, off the back of the proceeds of that at Madison Square Gardens later in the year. That's brilliant. Thank you so much for coming and talking to us today, folks. Dana Masters, this has been My Music. If you've enjoyed it, please do share with your friends, your family, etc. If you haven't, then 37 minutes of your life wasted. Don't worry, you can get it back. Just get on a telephone call to an electricity company, go all the way through, half an hour, and then decide not to spend the money with them. And then there's your 37 minutes back. Until next time, bye for now.